Assalamu alaikum, sisters and brothers. My name is Sister Fatima Hodge. Welcome. All right, sisters and brothers, we will be continuing our conversation on the man and woman being equal but different. All right, sisters and brothers, so the woman represents the beauty and the man represents the strength. Now, at a time that beauty and strength were one until the separation took place and man and woman was created, right? So now you have two. Instead of one, you have two. And that beauty went to the woman and the strength went to the man, right? So now you have one from one being to two, right? So if we were once one being, that means that we are still one being. Now that we're separated, we're just separated now, right? So that means we need one another. And without the other, you don't have your other half. So, understanding that, you have to understand that you need your other half. You represent 180, he represents 180. And together, you're 360. Full, complete circle, right? So, excuse me, sisters and brothers. Understanding that, we have to get in the mindset of thinking for self. If I'm explaining that well, right, thinking for self, because we have to learn that or understand that we that is important to be yourself 100%. And when someone tries to change who you are, that means they hate you, right? Or they're trying to control you. And they're trying to control you, which means they no longer have control over who? Themselves, because they're controlling you, right? Mm-hmm. So that's why I express that we have to get in the mind of controlling ourselves, because a lot of men like to control the woman, and a lot of females like to be controlled by their man. Now, that narrative has been pushed for years. And that is why the men think the way they think, that we have no say in decision making when the woman, when that's not true. But that's the narrative that's being pushed to this world, that the woman's perspective has no core value. And that alone is not true, sisters and brothers. Because the woman has a mind just like the man has a mind. You have smart sisters and you have smart, intelligent brothers. And what makes the difference there, what makes them unequal? Because they both have the capability, the mind, to achieve the same achievements, right? Other than the fact that he's the strength and she's the beauty, she may not be able to lift up 500 pounds of weight at a time because she's the beauty. She doesn't have as much strength. She's not strong, physically strong as a man. But mentally, our brains and minds operate the same. So you have smart men. You also have men that are not so smart. You have sisters that are intelligent. You also have sisters that are not so intelligent. So that narrative of saying that the man is, you know, a degree above the woman. That's not true, sisters and brothers. That's not true. And they use that because he's more strong physically than the woman. But that's not you gotta understand that, sisters and brothers, that's who he is. He's a man. He's the strength. And you are the beauty. He's just who you are. You're emotional, and they attack the sisters because of our emotional, you know, side of us. Because that's who, first of all, they attack who we are. Because that's who we are. 100%. That's a part of us. If we did not have emotions, we would not be able to take care of our children properly. We would not be able to nurture our husbands properly. We would not be able to have that certain communication that's needed to raise up one or to nurture one, right? So we need that emotional part of us. That's what makes us beautiful. That's what makes us who we are. But this world attacks that emotional side and says that it's not the right decision. So women cannot make decisions because they're emotional. However, sisters and brothers, that is not true because just the same as your decision, your logical decision, strength decision that you make because you're a man. Just because, excuse me, I forgot the point. The point is that just because I have that emotional decision that I may make because I am a woman may save your life, right? So we try to weigh which decision is the best decision to make. Not say that, not just to throw her decision out, because she also has a mind and a perspective, and her perspective might be the proper perspective to use for that moment, for that time, and so may yours be. Yours may have been, brothers, that perspective that needed to be used. However, at that time, in another situation, right? However, it, however, it, the world teaches you to completely ignore the woman's perspective, and that alone is wrong completely. And that's what keeps that man in that mindset of control and thinking that he is the one that, excuse me, sisters and brothers, and thinking that he is the one that makes all decisions for the family or for you all in the relationship, period. And that alone is wrong because the woman and the man should come together in harmony with a decision being made. Regardless, it will be whichever perspective would be the proper perspective to take, you know, and not look at it as being, oh, you're a woman, you don't know nothing, you don't know that. Women, y'all just so emotional. But you know, a lot of her decisions that she makes could could not could it has worked and caused you to not be in certain situations, helped you out in life, or helped your children out in life, you know. So just be that. So that's what. Excuse me, sisters and brothers. I'm having a little hiccup here. That is why it is important that we understand as a nation, man and woman, that we are equal but different, and understanding that difference because we are man and woman. That's the only difference between us. He's the strength and you're the beauty. That's the only difference between us, and we think differently, right? So that's why it is important when you all are finding a significant other to find someone with the same perspective, not excuse me, not perspective, value, and in life, and you know, same goal, same vision, sisters and brothers, because you don't want, you know, two different people together, and they have two different visions, and that's going to be conflict constantly, constant conflict. That's why it's important to unite with one vision, right? So you all, so that conflict won't take place, because, or and if it does take place, it's because of your not you're not fully understanding what the perspective of your woman, or the woman not fully understanding the perspective of you. So you all are trying to get each other to understand that. And I'm not saying that's not conflict either. That will be considered just trying to get a understanding, from each other's perspective. It doesn't have to lead into a, you know, argument or anything of that nature. And that's how um the enemy gets our households and things like that, because we are, fighting back and forth. Don't know, the man don't want to listen to him, to the woman, and he wants her to submit to him. Submitting means to lower yourself to someone else, to submit to someone else, authority, right? Meaning you don't have your own backbone. You have to submit to him. So you're gonna do what he tells you to do, right? All the decisions that he makes is you're gonna have to do them, right? No matter what it is, you submit to him. So you have to do what he tells you to do. Now, sisters and brothers, that alone, think about that. Why would you want a sister? Why? Not saying sister, but that does not have her own mind, and why? And to be free, right? To express that, because they are afraid of the woman's expression. Oh, she just talks. She talks too much. Shut up. You always got something to say. And they really put that label on black women, because we're the ones that always have something to say, right? That's what they use. That's the narrative they push on black women. Black women always got something talking back, got something to say, because we have a perspective as well, and we want that perspective to be viewed, but it's not being viewed, and it's being looked at as disrespectful, or always got something to say, or or just not listening to what's taking place. But that's not the case. That's not the case. And they tear us down for speaking up for ourselves, because they fear our perspective. That's really what's going on, because men, they're used to the mindset that they're in charge. Everything that they say goes. I'm more superior than you. My decisions is more, valuable than your decisions, because you're emotional. And that's not the case. But that's how they feel. That's how men feel, period. So when a sister speaks, opens up her mouth, they're ready to fight, or, argue, or tell you to be quiet. Or, and that's men that, a lot of men that's like that, they don't want to, submit to the woman. And it's not about submitting to the woman. It's about submission with one another, coming together as one. It's not submitting. We're not submitting to, I'm submitting to you. I'm doing everything you tell me to do. Or I'm submitting to you, and I'm going to do everything you tell me to do. And I'm going to just sit back. Right? That's not, you're submitting to, in order to submit to each other, you all are, when you submit to each other, that, excuse me, sister, but give me one moment. That act of yielding authority would be to one, would be given to each other, right? Meaning you're going to listen to her perspective. You're going to listen to his perspective. You all are going to come together and figure out which one was the best decision and move forward with it, right? That's, that's that submission to each other. You all are submitting to each other. It's not to where one is doing everything I tell her to do, right? Because that's a slave, right, at that point, right? So a lot of men want slaves, or they want a builder woman. They want to be able to build her. They want to control everything that she does, what she wears, how she talks, all these things. So you got to understand that they want you to, or they want a home. At that point, they want a homeboy. They want you to think like him. They want you to think like them. At that point, you want me to think like a man, and I'm a woman. So you're trying to change me. That means you don't like me. That means you hate me, right? So you really want what? You really want a man, because you don't want to communicate with me. You want to communicate with a homeboy. You want to communicate with somebody who thinks like you. And that's a man, right? So we have to understand that our men are thinking totally backwards because they don't even realize that they're looking for a partner, a homeboy. And that's not who your woman is. Your woman is your woman. She's a woman for a reason. She has emotions for a reason. And that's not what you want. You want to be able to control her and have her act like you. That's you don't realize that you're looking for a home a boyfriend. How about that? Right? And you also are controlling her, so you got to understand that control makes you lose control of self because you're trying to control who she is. That's why it's important to allow each other to be themselves 100%. Let a person be themselves, and if that person, who that person is not aligned with you, separate yourself, right? Because all you're doing is when you try to control someone else, you lose the control that you have over yourself. And self-control is the best control. Sisters and brothers, you have to have control over self, right? Focus on yourself. But you're focused on controlling someone else. So you don't have the energy that you're using towards focusing on someone else, controlling someone else. You can use all that energy to control yourself. And that's how you get out of control because you are now controlling someone else. That's why we have to understand, sisters and brothers, that we are equal but different. So we are not supposed to be controlling one another, right? As long as you both like ice cream, that's what matters, right? She likes chocolate, you may like vanilla, but it's still ice cream, right? So that's why we have to understand the importance of 360 because that is completion. 360 degrees. It's a circle, complete circle. And it takes us both to receive that with each other. And this world pushes that, what am I trying to say? That I don't need a woman. I don't need anybody. I got this on my own. Or I don't need a man. I'm an independent Black woman. And that alone, that fact alone, that narrative alone, I'm an independent Black woman, I'm an independent Black man, or whatever the narrative is, that narrative alone has no power. And they know that. They know these things, and that's why they push it in their music. Independent women, I'm single and I love it, or I don't want to get married. They're pushing all these things because they know that has no power, no unity. They know that. They know that the power is in our unity. It's in us coming together as one. They know that's where the power lies. And that's why they break that power between the Black one man and woman and promote all these corrupt things to you into your mind 24/7 around the clock. So you never come together, you never unite, and you never receive that power. That real power, because that's where that power is, sisters and brothers. 24/7 they have on your televisions, music that you're listening to, shows that you're watching, comedians, all these things that you're watching is to destroy your mind. It's to destroy your mind, sisters and brothers. And they have it on 24/7. And it's also to destroy you, sisters and brothers. You, the Black man and woman of America. Why are they in so deep to destroy the Black man and woman of America? Because they hate us 100%, which is why they have changed us 100%. Not only have they changed us, they took us from our land, stripped us of everything we know to give us their mind and their operating system, sisters and brothers. So now we're operating off of the minds of our enemies. The minds of our enemies. We're operating off of their minds. And this is all because they don't want you to wake up from your slumber. They don't want you to realize what's going on. They don't want you to ever find out that you are God's chosen. You are God's people. And the thing is that they're going to be judged for all of the wicked that they've done to our nation, all the affliction that they've done to our nation. They're going to be judged for that. But they think that they're going to escape that judgment when they're not. When they're not. Because once we wake up, sisters and brothers, once that hand is lifted, false Israel taken out, America going through a crisis, no gas, no electricity, no water, no heat, no air, no food. When they're going through that, sisters and brothers, excuse me, sister, I kind of lost my train of thought just for a second. The point that I was making is that once America, goes through all those things, they will no longer have all of those things that they were using to distract us, right? They won't have all those trinkets that they had to distract the minds of the black man and woman. That's that hand that's being lifted. Once that hand is lifted, we're going to fly high, sisters and brothers. They're holding us down. We got to understand that they're holding us down. And they have to keep holding us down, because if they stop, that leaves way for us to start coming back to who we truly are, which is why they have to constantly do these things 24/7. Constantly pushing out these television shows, constantly having their demons push out these comedian things, constantly having these movies pushed out, constantly having this music pushed out. And they have narratives, they have the music that you're listening to is telling you to do certain things, corrupting your mind. Kill, steal, destroy. Games that you're playing, kill, steal, destroy. Movie that you're watching, kill, steal, and destroy. That's because that is the mind of our enemies. And they have given us their mind. They also given us Christianity, which has done nothing but destroyed us. Destroyed us. Sisters and brothers, they're trying to destroy us. They're trying to abort the nation that's about to be born. We've been in the womb, growing. And now we're at that time of the birth of a new nation. And there they're coming to try to abort us from rising, from being born, right? Because they can't have you rise up. They can't have you realize what they've done. They cannot have you realize what they have done to our nation. Because our people, sisters and brothers, I can't even explain how our people, because I am one of them. So we can't even fathom how our people are going to react to this. All we can do is give you the feeling of, but once our people realize what's really taking place, oh, sister, brothers, our enemies have hell to pay. Our people don't realize that for example, you have a woman walking a dog, right? Small 100-pound woman walking a 500-pound dog. And that dog is doing everything that the woman tells that dog to do, right? Go this way, go that way. And this woman just yelling at him, treating him bad, kicking him. Hurry up, right? This 500-pound dog that this 100-pound woman is walking, right? That's because and when you think about that dog is way bigger than her. but he's doing everything that she's telling him to do, right? That's because a dog doesn't realize who he is and doesn't realize that he's a dog and that he's 500 pounds and that he can yank her, right? And that he can escape, right? And that's the thing. Once we realize and wake up, imagine when that dog wake up. Imagine that dog wakes up 500 pounds, yanks that 100-pound woman down just because he realized who he was. He's no longer being being told to go here, here, and there, right? He's now alive. So he can see exactly what's taking place. That's exactly what's about to happen. We don't realize how powerful we are. We don't realize how powerful we are, but soon we will. Soon we will, especially when that energy returns. However, that's another conversation, Sister Brother. We stay focused on our topic, which is unity, coming together as one body, right? One, because that's what we are. And we're all different pieces of that body, but we're all one body, and without each other, we're nothing. We need every part of that body to be functioning properly for the body to work properly, right? Right. So that's why it's important that we don't listen to what these devils and demons is preaching to us on their movies, shows, music. We don't listen to that crap, that foolishness. That's the enemy's mind. And that's going to lead me to our next discussion, because we're still speaking about the unity and one, us being one. However, I want to highlight this topic about the mind. All right, sisters and brothers, as you see this photo here, we have the mind and the brain. That is our conversation that we're about to start right now. The mind and the brain, the difference between them, right? All right, sisters and brothers. So we have hardware and you have the software, right? When you think about a computer, you have the hardware, which is the actual computer, and you have the software, meaning all of the things that are uploaded to the computer, right? That the computer calculates. All right, sisters and brothers? So we have to understand that the hardware is the brain, and the brain does the calculating, right? It calculates information based on the information it gets from the software. So we have to understand that, right? So we have to understand that the mind that we have right now was a mind that was given to us from our enemies. So, sisters and brothers, we have to understand that if you go capture a cat and you want this cat to act like these dogs, right? Excuse me, sisters and brothers. Give me one moment. I want to make sure this example that I'm explaining is proper. So you capture a cat, you don't want that cat to act like a cat, right? You want it to act like a dog. So what you do is take that cat, put him around dogs, and train him up as if he's a dog, right? And now that cat is meowing. Now that cat is barking, you know, that cat is moving like a dog, thinking like a dog, right? Because it has been raised to be a dog and it has been around dogs, right? You can basically the point is that you can train a cat to be a dog, but you can't change the nature of that cat, right? So once that cat is released, now that cat will revert back to its nature, being a cat, right? But in order for it to stay in that dog state, you will have to keep it around the dogs, right? And keep it thinking like a dog. And that's exactly what our enemies have done to us, sisters and brothers. We have to understand that our enemies have taken their minds, given us their minds, right? Their wicked minds, they have given us their minds. And so we represent that hardware, sisters and brothers. We represent that hardware, right? Our brain. The software is our mind, right? And that software that we have right now is our enemy's mind. We're that cat that's operating like a dog, but and don't realize that he's actually a cat until you separate them, right? And that's why they do not want us to go anywhere. This is why they do not want us to separate. Because once we separate, we will revert back to our nature, sisters and brothers, back to who we truly are, back to our righteous mind. And they don't want us to have that mind. They want us to continue to think on their software, sisters and brothers. The thing is that you can't change the hardware. So that's why you have to understand that once we separate, we're going to revert back to who we are, who we truly are. Sisters and brothers, this is not who we are. This is not in us. This is on us, not in us. That's the difference. We can shower and get this off of us. That's what's so powerful about this, sisters and brothers. We can get all this stuff that we have in our minds corrupted. It will go away as soon as once we separate. But those who have that within them, they can't change that, right? They're actual dogs, right? You have people who look like us, sisters and brothers, but they're not us. And that is from Massa raping the black woman, making us produce their children. So now we have children that look like us, but they're not us. They're Massa's children. They're house Negroes. And they are, in fact, the enemy as well. They're just our hidden enemies, sisters and brothers. So we have to understand that all of the software that the mind is calculating, that the brain is calculating, all the software that the brain is calculating is all bad information, sisters and brothers. They're telling you that you need to be single. You need to be alone. I need to be independent. I can do this by myself. I can raise my son and I'm a woman. I can raise my daughter and I'm a man. They're teaching you things that are against who you are, sisters and brothers. These things are not. This is not our mind. This is their mind. And they're trying to take the logic from our minds, sisters and brothers, telling you to go be with a woman. Go be with a man. Sisters, go be with a woman. Brothers, go be with a man. And that is totally against who you are, sisters and brothers. But that's what's taking place, and that's another form of abortion of our nation. They're trying to get rid of us. Like I shared, they're trying to abort the nation that's about to be born. They're trying to abort us, not just through physical abortion, because that's exactly what they're doing as well. They're aborting our nation through abortions, sisters, through making our men and women go to the other side, having our men in prison so they can't produce anything because they're in prison. They're trying everything that they can to abort our nation, sisters and brothers. And that's why it's important to understand the mind. because the mind and the brain, because we are operating off of their mindset. Sisters and brothers. And, excuse me, their demon children are helping with that corruption because they look like us. They may talk like us, but they are not us. And you half of the black nation are demons. They're camouflaged in with our nation. So you have friends, family, associates that are all that may be demons, and you're trying to get advice from them, and you don't realize that you're getting advice from someone who's totally against you by nature. By nature, it's in them to be against who you are, to be against how you naturally think, right? It's just that's who they are. And you're doing things that they're telling you to do, that they're guiding you to do, because that's all that you see. And that's all that those are, because they're your cousins, your family members, or that's all that you are viewing because that's the only people that they put on their television screens. Sisters and brothers, they would never show they would never show anything of this nature that we're speaking about here on the We Reflect Like News. They would never, ever put this for our people to hear and listen to. Why is that? Because we're going against their plan, against their American dream. We're against it. And they can't have anyone that's against destroying the minds of the black man and woman. We don't need anyone that's uplifting them, telling them about self, so they don't have us on their television screens 24/7 around the clock. They have their children on there twerking, women twerking, or men slapping on the women, pimping them out. Men walking around with big chains on, golds in their mouth. Sisters walking around with golds in their mouth, breasts out, piercings all over their face, piercings all over their bodies, lipo, behinds huge, men walking with designs all through their heads. All these things that they're pushing the narrative of a black woman and a black man. No, that's not who we are. They're walking around with their pants halfway down. Their men walking around with their pants sagging, flip-flops on, no shoes. Sisters and brothers, this is not who we are. That is the demon vision. That is the demon vision. Letting children talk back, letting them curse, use foul language. All of that is the demon vision. Sororities, all these things that they promoting on their TV 24/7 for you to view is the demon vision. Sisters and brothers, arguing 24/7. They have shows where all they do is fight and argue. They're teaching you how to just fight and argue, never solve problems, just cause conflict. Conflict. That's all you see on their television screens. And they have the black people doing the most of the conflict. They try to make us paint this terrible picture of the black man and woman of America. And that's what they have done. And that's not who we are. That's not even us. But that was their plan. So when they get rid of us, it'll be no remorse. Because look at them. Look who they were. They were clowns. They weren't producing shit. Excuse me, sisters and brothers. They weren't, excuse my language. They were not producing anything. So why would we shed a tear for someone who was just in the way? And that's exactly how they feel about us, sisters and brothers. That's how they feel about us. And their demon children have a big play in the reason why they feel this way about the black man and woman of America. Because the true original nation, we don't act that way. And if we are acting in these ways, it's because we are in fact, operating off of our enemy's mindset. We're demon possessed. And that's another thing. We have to understand that we pick up on each other's thoughts. So if you're surrounding yourself by demons, then you're going to be, your mind, your the thoughts are going to run through your mind. You're going to be doing the same thing that they're doing, or they're telling you. That's why you have to understand that's the power, how powerful the mind is, because you have thoughts that they're not even yours. And you have to be strong enough in your mind to not act on those thoughts, because a lot of people don't realize that the thoughts that they're having is not theirs, you know, certain thoughts that they're having, and they act on them, and it leads them in the wrong direction. So we have to understand that we pick up on each other's thoughts, and we're surrounded by enemies, demons, devils. We're angels surrounded by demons and devils, sisters and brothers. So we are acting like them. And not only we acting like them, they're acting like us. It's like the role switch. They're the innocent and we're the toe up ones, right? But that's not true. And you can see it. As soon as we separate, you see the difference. Elijah Muhammad showed that. But they couldn't keep that. That's why they did what they did, sisters and brothers. Like corrupt the nation of Islam, sisters and brothers. But Demon Farrakhan, that goes to another conversation. Because it showed they couldn't have that unity. That unity that was there when Elijah Muhammad, our messenger, came, raised up the nation, had that unity taking place there. They could not continue that. That's why they had Martin Luther King. He was the one on their television, not Elijah Muhammad, Martin Luther King. And they made sure that he had the publicity and things that he needed to get his voice, to get that message out of coming together. Because they could not have us separate what I just shared. Once we separate, we're going to come back to our nature. We're going to start realizing who we truly are. Right? They can't have that. So they putting all these things in place to make sure that is destroyed. That unity that you're preaching, all this light that you're giving to your people is destroyed, taken out completely. We need to just give them a bunch of fake lights. They need a bunch of fake, so they think they got something, right? And this is going on right now. You got a bunch of lights on, and they're not even real. They got to understand that these people are out here to corrupt you, 100%. They're pastors, they're preachers, they're all demons. They're all in the plans to destroy you, just like their devil fathers. And their devil fathers hate them as well, because why? They look like us. They got to fight to get everything that they want. March, do all these things, protest to get what they want from their daddies. And that's their fathers, sisters and brothers. And they don't claim them, but they want to put that narrative on the black man and woman that we don't take care of our children. We don't, we're deadbeat. We have deadbeat fathers. But they're the most deadbeat of them all, because they have a whole nation of children, 17 million, that they don't take care of it or claim because they look like us. And it's all the results of them, because they raped us. And they don't like the results of what they produce from the rape of us. So they don't claim them. But those are their children. You have black people out here that are walking around. They look like us, but they're white. Which is why they're connecting to that white side of them. They have mansions just like the white people. They're rich just like the white people. They want to be with massa. They either have a white girlfriend or a white man. That is clear results that this is their children. These are their seed. This is their seed. And you also have our men and women. Some of them have gone over to the other side due to, like I said, being demon possessed. Or being just fed up because they're not getting what they want. So they feel like they'll get what they want if they go here, right? That's another corrupted mindset to think like. However, that's a lot of our people. A lot of our people, those sellouts. That's how you find a sellout. So that's why I said it's so powerful, because especially the black man and black woman that are together and are actually, sticking beside each other, because we have it hard. 100%. Energy-wise, just living in this reality period, the way that they treat us, all these things, we have it bad. And we're still sticking beside each other, which shows our strength. Those who go to the other side and try to do that means that they, you know, they couldn't handle it. That's just is what it is. That's just is what it is, sisters and brothers. And excuse me. That's why, sisters and brothers, it is important to start to understand who you truly are. And you are righteous by nature. We are righteous by nature. Sisters and brothers, the way that we're acting today, this is a reflection of our enemies. Because they are the ones who raised us. They took us captive, brought us here in this land, taught us to be just like them. It took them 64 years to do that, sisters and brothers. We came here with our minds. Trust me. We came here and they stripped us of everything that we knew. Everything. It took them 64 years to do so. They raped us, made sure that we had their babies. They made sure that they turned us into Negro bots. And the first Negro bot was produced in 1619. And that's when our servitude started. 1619 to 2019 will be 400 years. And 2020 started with their judgment, sisters and brothers. That's exactly what took place. Exactly what took place. As the scriptures share, the nation whom afflicted them will I judge. Ooh, sisters and brothers. Genesis chapter 15. Sisters and brothers, go do your research. Start thinking for self. Start asking questions. Just go to Genesis chapter 15. Read it. Who else meets the description that it describes in verse 13? No one but the black man and woman of America. No one but the black man and woman of America, sisters and brothers. Go read it. We meet that description. It said we'll be in a strange land for 400 years. We were taken and brought here to this strange land, and we've been here for 400 years, sisters and brothers, and it said we would be enslaved. And that's exactly what took place. Not only enslaved, but it also said and afflicted. And that's exactly what happened. We were enslaved and afflicted. Who else meets that description but the black man and woman of America? Who else meets that description but the black man and woman of America, sisters and brothers? No one. But it said that after that 400 years, will I judge those who afflicted my people? Right? And the 400-year mark ended 2019. 2020, judgment began immediately. COVID-19, coronavirus. That's when you start getting into the book of Exodus. Because now, this is what's taking place, the Passover. And it said it will pass over you. Right? Who is you? Who was it going to pass over? And who did it pass over? The black man and woman of America. Not only just the black man and woman, anyone who has the blood that is original. So all of those black countries, they brung the virus. They were not affected by it at all. You can do your research on this as well, sisters and brothers. Please check. They were not affected at all until they brought it to them. They brought the coronavirus into those countries. Because they couldn't have that narrative going where, oh, only white people are dying. Only Europeans, right? Caucasians are dying. Excuse me, sisters and brothers. Only the Caucasian race is dying. What's going on here? Right? They couldn't have that. So they had to make sure that, they had to make sure they made that, that narrative go away, that only white people were dying. But the thing is that only Caucasians were dying. However, you have to understand that they would never have shut down their whole economy because of a virus. Has this ever happened, sisters and brothers? No. Not in my not in my days of living. I haven't seen it until that took place. So, sisters and brothers, how you know how serious that was? That was a mark in their minds that the judgment was taking place. They read the scriptures. They make sure you don't know. But they know because that's how they're running their reality, to make sure that you don't ever know who you truly are. So they knew when that took place. They said, scared the mess out of them. Sisters and brothers, that scared the life out of them. They shut down their whole economy because of that shit. Scared the hell out of them. Because it said exactly that, because the scriptures, we're living out the scriptures. Sisters and brothers, we're living out the scriptures. And that freaked them out. Oh, no. Wait. Because we are truly God's chosen people. And they have us captive. They're the nation that's doing these things. God's people. And sisters and brothers, God is the best of planners. Allah is the best of planners, right? So they think that they're going to, get rid of us and all the things they haven't planned, but their plans are going to fail. And they're going to be exposed. False Israel is going to be taken out. Oh, but the scripture says that once God's people are put into their land, which y'all consider false Israel, they will not be uprooted. And at peace. Is that peace that you see over there? All you gotta do is open up your phone and go to the news. You gotta do that. You see it on your timeline. Is that peace happening over there? No. And it looks as though they're about to be uprooted. And that's exactly what's about to take place, sisters and brothers. That means that they're not who they claim to be. Hold on. These aren't God's people. They've stolen our identity, sisters and brothers. And it's that the envy will be envious because they're going to find out that me and you are God's people. That's why we have to flee, sisters and brothers. When this event takes place, we're going to have to get out ASAP, move ASAP, because they are going to attack all blacks. They don't care if you're this, they're not checking your blood, none of that. They're attacking all blacks. Because now you are the evidence of their crime, and you're still here. They've committed a crime. You're the evidence of that crime. So what does a criminal do when they get off the hook? Get rid of the evidence. We have to get rid of this evidence that we have afflicted God's people. Because it said we will be judged for these things. So let's hurry up and try to get rid of the evidence. This is why they're trying to abort our nation. This is their plan to get rid of us because they have to. Because if not, the evidence is there. And why is the evidence? But the thing is that because we are the ones that's going to give them their consequence. Sisters and brothers, they're about to reap what they've sown. It's not going to come from the air, sisters and brothers. And why they fear us. They fear our nation rising. They fear our nation rising, but this is a great thing for our nation. It's bittersweet because a lot of our people are going to be lost from the lack of knowledge because they don't want, or just because they don't want to let go of this reality. A lot of our women have demon children. A lot of our a lot of our women have demon children. You have cousins, you have aunties, you have family members that maybe, and they're not going to make it because they don't have the mind to make it. And you have to be able to upload the new mind in order to be successful in the new reality. And that is our biggest goal, uploading our new minds, getting our minds back. And like I shared, you have demons who this is their mind. So they're not going to be getting nothing back, right? They have their mind. They'll be faking all the way until the point to where they have to show and tell. And there you go. They can't show because they don't have the mind. They're not who we are. Sisters and brothers, they're black-faced demons. And a lot of our people, we've been so corrupted in this reality. That's why I said the wrath of the people are going to, the wrath, because they've messed up our people. We got health problems now. Sick. On drugs. And we're destroying our bodies. So we can't even get to the point of thinking properly. That's why it's so going to be, it's going to be wrath like no other. A whirlwind, literally. Literally, sisters and brothers. We have to understand how serious this is. It says it's going to be a great shaking in Revelations. In the book of Revelation, it tells you that it's going to be a great shaking. And that's wasn't talking about it's talking about literally. Are people going to be shook from from the knowledge that they receive, from what's taking place? And it said a lot of hearts will fail from fear from what's to come. Which is why we're here. So you know what's about to happen. When it happens, you'll know that this was about to happen. Before it just happens and you're just in shock. And it actually kills you. Which is why we're here to tell you before these things take place that this is what they have in the plans for us. And the only way out, the only escape is to get your mind back, sisters and brothers. Because that's how this world is going to be. Sisters and brothers, because that's our mission. Hajj. Receiving our minds, getting our minds back in Hajj, sisters and brothers. That's how we're going to be successful in this. Our unity. Realizing that we are one body working together, sisters and brothers, on that same vision, which is the Injil. Sisters and brothers, Revelations. This is our mind. This is the map. This is the map you need to get out of here, sisters and brothers. And we're all going to have to come to that mind level of thinking. And it said high pressure defeats low pressure. And we're going to be that high pressure. And they're going to be defeated 100%. Sisters and brothers, when we come together, that's that power, like I shared. That's that power. And when we come together, sisters and brothers, that power is like no other. It's unprecedented. We haven't seen these, you know what I'm saying? And the time that's about to come is unprecedented because how wicked you're about to witness your enemy. You have never seen that, which is why it's important that you do see these things so you know who your enemy is. Because right now you're slapping hands with them, high-fiving them, slaying with them. You're going to find out soon that you don't need to be nowhere near these people because you're going to be on a dinner plate in a minute. because they do eat people as well, sisters and brothers. These are beasts that we're talking about. They're not regular. These are beasts that we're talking about, and we ain't never seen these beasts hungry. You think you got a little friend? No, they're gonna put you on a dinner plate, on a dinner table, cook you up, fry you up, fillet up. They don't give a damn about us. They put us in the Constitution at 3/5 of a human for a reason. Because they read the Bible, they knew the script, they knew this was going to take place to the word. We're going to get a point to where we're going to be a complete famine here. Worse than the Great Depression, worse than anything that you've seen, period. It's going to be that here in America. Woo! Sisters and brothers, there's no explanation really I can give to you because I've never seen it either. It's unprecedented. So, sisters and brothers, we have to understand and keep in the forefront of our mind that we have to come together. One nation, one sound, one body, one vision, right? And that is our power. And that's why the topic is unity. 360 degrees. Man and woman coming together. It starts there. It starts there, sisters and brothers. Because we need each other. Man and woman need each other. Not only that, we are all one body. And we all need each other to operate that body and function that body properly. All right, sisters and brothers. I hope you all gained some knowledge from today. And I will be back with more. Assalamu alaikum.